Hi, how are you today? I hope your day has been not just wonderful, but the best day ever. And if you had challenges this day, then I hope that they bring tremendous blessings to your life once you integrate what they were teaching you, these situations. I would like to talk about cycles. Have you ever noticed that things go in a seasonal way, in a cyclical way? I mean, time has its own magic, its own way of doing things. And yet again, it keeps showing in this cyclical way. There's the night, and there's the day. And in between those big changes, there's many changes. It's just always changing. So you have early morning, you have the sunrise, and then you have this moment where a lot of people wake up and you have this traffic hours. I mean, you can drive depending on where you live. I've lived in many cities, and it's actually good that you live in a city like LA or Chicago, or at least that you travel through those places. Dallas even, I remember that while traveling. If you hit those traffic points, it's like snail pace, and you see these waves of red and white, right? Because you see all the white lights coming towards you and all the red lights. And you're looking at the tails of the car. So when you live in these cities, you come to another city. Like now I live in, the Tampa Bay area. And even though there is a traffic hour, and it makes a whole lot of a difference if you drive 5 minutes before 7, or you drive at 7, or 7:05, 7:10. The more minutes you drive, then it's like, just be ready for the traffic, because everybody want to go to the same direction. And that's a cycle. It's just going to be there at that time, at that moment. And so our lives keep having these cycles. We keep evolving and growing, and we're always changing, and there is not a moment that we're the same. That's why they say that a man can never cross a river twice, because the man and the river have both changed. However, it only seems cyclical, like he used this word samsara to describe the cyclical nature of unenlightened existence, where you just are born, suffer, or maybe have some pleasure, some goodness, but then mostly is suffering in the end. And then you create all this negative karma, when we are in certain places, like a hell realm, right? Like a hell realm, for example, a hungry ghost realm, where Just look at animals, even in the animal realm. They are running away from being eaten all the time. They have to look up so the bigger species don't devour them. And then when you're there, then you don't really have a lot of space to contemplate life and impermanence and the preciousness of this human life and the karma, cause and effect, right? And all this satisfaction of on the enlightened life. And those are the thoughts. They say there's 4 thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma, because the more you contemplate those thoughts, the more you realize that if you're a human, like if you're listening to this right now, and you have a spiritual interest, because every man, every woman, every human is spiritual. I mean, everything is spiritual, but humans are just this very special, this very exquisite, unique manifestation of a being that is in its essence so tender and loving and capable and strong and miraculous and amazing. So we have like this duality in us where we are capable of the greatest good and the greatest evil, all just by being and having this openness. They call this in the Shambhala teachings the basic goodness, right? This openness to life, this ability to sense, to feel, to think, to contemplate, to be. And so when you embark on a spiritual path of asking yourself, why am I here? Where do I come from? What's the purpose of my life? What is life? Like, what is a human? Like, what was I before I was born? What's going to happen when I die? Where am I going to go? Where are the people that I've loved, that have died, where are they? So if you contemplate these questions, and I know it's hard. I mean, the very first time I did hospice as a nurse, as a case manager, I remember speaking to some of my family members, and they kind of like didn't really understand. Like they just couldn't fathom. Like it was just so strange for them. Like I remember their response to when I was so happy that I had just had this new job and I was gonna do hospice and I was gonna get to be around the people that are dying and gonna be able to hold space for them and care in whatever way I could. Because I had my years and years and years of like feeling like, what is this world all about? And feeling lost and confused and depressed and sad and nothing had meaning. Like why to be alive? Like why is this existence all about if we just die at the end? And I had a very nihilistic view where I just thought that you would die and it would be this infinite black dark space where there's nothing. And that's just this misconception, because to begin with, nothing is no thing. So I was actually giving this archetypal, I guess now, this archetypal, because I don't think I'm the only one that had that idea. A lot of people think that's what death is, there's this infinite darkness. And I remember having these visions or this like feelings of just like this vast black, little bit of humming light of just pure darkness. And I thought that's what was going to happen when I died, like just in this completely alone space. But then, thanks to the Buddhist teachings and the Holy Dharma and books like Natural Liberation, Upon Hearing, and The Between, or like they usually call it the Tibetan Book of the Dead, this wonderful text by Padmasambhava. If you ever want to read it, it's a treasure, terma, they call this term, where he gave these teachings, but he hid them. He hid some on elements like earth, like rock, like under the sea, but he also hid some of them in minds of people and some of his close disciples. And this is why, reincarnation again comes, which is another cycle, and it's something again to contemplate. I'm not gonna tell you like, yeah, we all reincarnate and this is how it is. Like, you think about it. You come to your own conclusion. Like, is it true? Like, is it possible? Like, how things work. That if you have a sheet of paper and you burn it, it doesn't get destroyed. It's not like the sheet of paper no longer exists. The sheet of paper becomes ashes. It becomes heat. It becomes a flame. It becomes light. It goes on and moves. It transfers to the environment. So, same with us. When we die, it's not like we die like as dead, like never to be existing again. Like, we have a body, and the body goes through its process, right? When we're still alive and in the process of dying, I saw it many times. You start having these changes of body, and your color changes, your digestion changes, your breathing changes, you're not able longer to move. Like, there comes a point where you're bedridden. If you have the blessing to die in a traditional, per se, there's no real traditional, but if you die through a process rather than being killed, or died in an accident, or like in some traumatic or like quick form or something like this, like falling from a roof, and dying. And so there's no process there like you can visibly see, right? Like, then there was a person there and then they fell and they broke the neck and they died. So that's one way. But when you work in hospice, you get to see this transition, and there are changes. They go from losing interest in a lot of the stuff that is social. They don't give a fuck, really. Dying people, they don't care. They don't really care because they're dying, and they don't care if they're not gonna go to this party or that party or they're just really going to be focused on their process. This is very honest people. This is very loving, amazing people. If you ever get the time, the opportunity to hang out, to volunteer in a hospice, in a cancer ward, like where people are really like dying, like just do it. And if you've been think about it, like take this that I'm saying as a confirmation to go do it. As a message from God, from the Buddhas, from heaven, from like, because there's only experience to really create understanding in you. And by going to these places, like kind of like visiting India and seeing the poverty there, or I was made in Mexico, born in Texas, so I was raised in Mexico for the first 22 years of my life, and I got to see a lot of stuff, a lot of poverty, a lot of like things that when I chose to move to the US and to stay here because I was studying nursing, and I didn't want to be all day just having no place to be. Like, I mean, clinicals are really excruciating and are hard. Like, nursing school is made to break you. It's made to, like, make you think. And, it's meant to give you an experience of life. When you are taking care of people is no joke. This is why I salute anybody that works with people in this way, because we are just such an amazing realm of diversity. There's just so much difference in everybody, but at the same time there's this universality. There's like this tone. There's this universal love. When you really care, when you have this nurturing archetype, which I don't have that much, but I do care for people. I do care for their benefit, for their liberation. And this is why I do this audios and these videos and whatever content I do for the benefit of all. There is this teaching of bodhicitta, which I guess I should make a whole video on it because it's just so amazing and so beautiful and so precious, and it's like really the jewel that transforms everything in your life. Anything, everything. It's just makes everything better. Like, it's just, they call it the wish fulfilling jewel, because then you can still do everything that you do, but you're doing it with this intention of being of benefit to all other beings. And it just changes your mind in ways that I cannot describe, and I'm not going to go into detail here because we're talking about cycles, and I do tend to go on rambling about this and rambling about that. So, like, I know most people don't have the capacity or the interest or, like, not ability, because everybody has it and we all can develop, but we live in this era of instant gratification, and we only do 3 seconds of this and 3 seconds of that because we think there's something better. And there's like this dopamine hits that we get, when we scroll through the social media, when we do like this quick, motions. But it's just kind of short-circuiting yourself, because there is this greater forms of pleasure, of joy, of satisfaction when you actually take the time and you read a book, for example. I don't know, like, why not a lot of people don't like to read books anymore. Like, they're just like such a jewel. I mean, I do most of my reading through audiobooks because I have to still work for 40 to 60 hours a week, depending on what I'm doing and what am I working on and what I need to accomplish and sustain and plan for whatever things I want to do, and I do this type of stuff, this type of videos whenever I'm not doing the work. And so it takes commitment to actually, do what you love. But when you have a clear path that you love something and you want to transmit a message and a gift for others, because what I've received are all these gifts from so many teachers and so many people that have put that same effort and same work. And that's where energy comes from. Like, energy comes from like doing what you love. When you're doing what you love, you have infinite energy. Like, there's no stopping you. There's no like, I gotta go to lunch, I gotta go to sleep. It's like, no, let's get it on. It's just this amazing energy that you have. Yet we do have to be mindful, because we do have bodies, and there's great teachers that have died very young because they did certain things that just finish their bodies. But then there's also others that show us more a balanced lifestyle, and balance is not easy, but it's possible. And it comes from knowing yourself and what you really like and what you want to do and how you want to do it, and just setting your priorities straight. When you have priorities and you want to do this, you want to do that, like if you want to be a mom, you should think about that and find a good partner that you can stick for life. It's better like if you have a partner for life, because even though there's a lot of divorces and a lot of like mixed families and all this, which is all possible, but when you have this commitment from the beginning, this is why you have to have discussions when you're dating about what you want, what you don't want, like what are your views. Like there's this natural knowing that you want to have children. Like it's just like in your bones, and like you see it like in little girls like playing. I have seen in my life so many like beings that just show this tendency for being a mom, this caring, like how they play with the dolls, like the type of role play they do. Like you can just tell that this person is made to at some point be a mother. Same like with kids that know that at some point they want to be a dad. The difference is that biologically, like men, we can wait a little more and maybe devote some of our time initially to those things that we really want to do, that we really have curiosity, and then have the children a little later in life. We also have a biological clock. We also have like more risk the more a certain age, but it does gives us a little more leeway to either become good at something and become successful and create some wealth, some ability to sustain later a space where you can make a family or something. I mean, this is just archetypical things. I'm not trying to be here like only men can do this and only women. This is just like basic nature. As a man, you can wait a little longer, and as a woman, you also can wait, but then you have like way more risks, right? And it's for each person to decide what they want to do, which again goes to the cycles, because there is a time for everything to do. You still can go to a rave at 60 and 70 and 80, but you might not have the best experience no more, because your body might not like it that much anymore. So when you do follow your heart, when you do that which you prioritize and you understand is the most important, you still will go through cycles, and you still go up and down, and it'll seem like sometimes you're going back. But in reality, because things are a spiral, you come to the same thing, but you're moving up, in consciousness, or you're coming down in groundness, you're like anchoring more. So it's just important to observe that and pay attention to it and do the best at its time. Like when there is really good weather, when there's really like good things, like you can go and get done a lot of work with being overheated, for example. So if you have stuff that you got to do outdoors, outside, like, that's the time. When I lived in Chicago, everybody was out in the summer and having a good time, and there's all the festivals and all this, because then you have this periods where it's cold as a motherfucker. It's like just hurting you in the face to just walk outside. And you still gotta go to work. I mean, I had to go to work then, and I would walk. It'll be like, oh my God, this is just so cold. But I wouldn't be outside working out and doing stuff. But then in the late spring and like the summer, like I would spend as much time as possible in the park, outside, like with my friends, like, because you really appreciate things when you have like this cycle. So enjoy the ride and enjoy the cycles, and know that even though sometimes you seem to be, oh my God, like this is going on again, it's just a cycle, but you are more conscious, you're more loving, you're more aware, so you can have a better response to it. So May any merit, may any goodness, may anything that we've done here that's good be of benefit to all beings, may be dedicated so all beings can become Buddhas, become, their own Christ version, their fully enlightened or their best very version in this very lifetime. Today. Om Om.